There we go. All right, good morning, good morning. Welcome everybody to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm your host, Samantha Studebaker-Carl, broadcasting to you live from beautiful Southwest Georgia. And I'm here with my good friends, Christina, Dan, Donna, Jason, Julia, Catherine, and Sandy. And what we do here every Saturday morning, just in case you're new, is we study different personal development books and we discuss them live on this Hangout so that we can all gain insights together and grow and prosper and just become the best versions of ourselves. So right now what we're doing is we're studying the book, I almost said How to Win Friends and Influence People, but that's not what we're reading. We're reading What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter. We are on chapter 14, and we're going to talk about the 5 core methods for utilizing self-talk to improve your life. But before we do that, I just want to tell everybody to, first of all, wherever you are on the internet, jump over to SaturdayMorningMastermind.com. That is our live event page where you can share your thoughts and we can just add your insights to the conversation. So again, that's SaturdayMorningMastermind.com. And then whoever's hanging out with us, just let us know there on the event page. Say, hey, good morning. Tell us where you are in the world, anything like that, or any thoughts that you have on this chapter so far, and we will add you to the discussion. While you're doing that, I'm going to have my friends go ahead and introduce themselves, and I'm going to mute out here in the background. And okay, go. Whoever wants to jump out first.
Good morning, everybody. Christina Irvin here. I'm in Northeast Tennessee, and I'm excited. We got a full panel today. It's going to be a good discussion.
Hey, good morning. This is Jason Roberts. It's wonderful to be here, and looking forward to going over these new techniques and learning some new things from everyone.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is Julia Colon, and it's my first time as a panelist on Saturday Morning Mastermind, so I'm very, very excited. And it's nice to meet all of you. And hi, Jason. How are you?
Hello. Nice to meet you. Nice to have you on.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name's Catherine Clement. I'm here in gorgeous Boulder, Colorado, and so thrilled to have you with us here, Julia, and wonderful to have a full panel of people, and we just missed Danielle. I wish you'd come back, Danielle. So looking forward, maybe she'll be back next week. Thank you all for coming.
Come back, Danielle. Welcome, Julia. Good to have you here. I'm Sandy Root here in Miami Beach. We did have a hurricane tropical storm threat, but it seems to have dissipated. Yay! So we'll get lots of rain still, but won't be as detrimental.
Good morning. Yes, I second everything you said there. And come back, Danielle. Maybe she heard us through the universe there, Sandy. It's nice to have Julia on the panel with us, and it's nice to all of us to be back again. And I'm Donna from Raleigh, North Carolina. Looking forward to the discussion.
What happened to Dan?
I don't know. I think he fell off. Okay, that was everybody, right? Okay, awesome, guys. Okay, so let's get this discussion started. And I don't know, let me ask you real quick, for those of you who are watching, can you see us? Because I'm not getting the right messages here in the back office. So hopefully, I mean, it says we're live and we're broadcasting, so hopefully everybody can see us. Very weird. Okay, well, anyway, let's just go ahead and start talking.
I'm actually trying to pull it up on my tablet to make sure too, and I'm not seeing anything on my tablet either.
Not seeing the broadcast, or?
No, I'm not seeing the broadcast, but it might be just delayed a little bit. That's all.
Right. Maybe that's all it is. How am I doing this morning? Clear? Choppy?
Your video, video is really sharp and clearer than I've noticed it previously, but there is a slight delay.
Okay. All right. Well, every day it improves a little bit.
Very,
It's better.
everything looks good on this end. Hey, Dan, how's it going?
Awesome.
Good. Good morning, everyone. Sorry, I had a little glitch, so I'm back.
No problem. All right. So last week we talked about how it's important to have whatever self-help message that you're working on be simple, right? And of course, this whole book is about talking to yourself and the different ways that you can, the different programming that we've experienced in our life that's caused us to talk the way that we do or say the things that we say to ourselves and that sort of thing. And this week we're going to be kind of discussing, we're going to begin our discussion for chapter 15 because this one has 5 different methods, and the first one that we're going to be talking about here is silent self-talk. And this is the stuff that you say to yourself inside your head, or maybe it's even the things that you feel and you don't even realize that you are feeling them, or not necessarily that you're feeling them, that you don't even realize those messages you're sending to yourself to cause you to feel in an unpleasant way, or feel insecure, or feel unself-confident, or those sorts of things. So I kind of want to just open the discussion up and say, okay, so what are some of the thoughts that you guys have on just this first section on silent talk? Who wants to jump out first?
Yeah, I'll jump out. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, as far as self-talk, really it's extremely important to control the internal dialogues that goes on inside your mind. If you don't control it, then you turn that over to what I call default. And for most people, the default is generally negative. And so in order to take control of just the internal dialogue, just what goes through your mind all the time. I mean, it's just these thoughts. I mean, just crap that's going on inside of the head all the time. And so, from my perspective, one of the things that I do is as I read books and I come across something that I really like, or listening to an audio, wherever the information comes from, and take like a 3x5 card and write that down. Maybe it's 1 or 2 sentences or 3 sentences. Maybe it covers both sides of the card, or maybe it's just 3 or 4 words. But to take something that I guess the word would be resonates with you, something that makes you vibrate on a higher vibratory plane, whatever. Anyway, something that you enjoy, and write that down on a card, and then read that card. And I know for me, like mornings is I do more of my programming in the mornings than I do at night, although I kind of do it throughout the day. But to take those cards and even to stand in front of a mirror, read those cards and read them out loud, read them with authority, and you're speaking that into your own subconscious mind and your programming. And so then you can be sitting in a crowd of people, and you can not be carrying on a conversation with somebody else, or it doesn't matter where you're at, but you can then call those different thoughts back to your mind, and you can repeat them inside your mind. You don't have to be moving your lips, or you don't have to be talking out loud, but you're actually speaking those things that you've memorized from your cards that you've taken from a book or from an audio. And as you're speaking them, you're controlling that inner dialogue, so that it's a form of programming. You are choosing the thoughts that you want to think, and you implant them in your mind, and then you choose those thoughts. You pull them up at will, and you can speak them over and over and over again. So it's a way to control just the negative thoughts that take place in all of our minds, on a daily basis. So I'll turn it over to somebody else.
That's really good stuff, Dan. I was actually thinking while you said that something that's been helping me lately is integrating. So when I take it in, like you were saying, basically write it on a 3x card and read it over and over, that's a part of integrating, right? And the more that we integrate is the quicker we get to integrating, and the more consistent we are in integrating, the more second nature it becomes, right?
I agree. I like what you're saying. You do it mostly in the morning, Dan, and I like to do that first thing in the morning too, because it programs our day. When we start our day in that mindset, it pours over into our day. If we wake up and we're in a negative mindset, it tends to keep going into our day. And if we program our day consistently every morning, it can start to see big changes over time. And even doing it before bed is nice too, because it's in your subconscious before you go to sleep, and when you're sleeping, your subconscious is still working. So, taking those cards or those notes or whatever, something you've written down or a ritual that you have, and sticking to that daily, really over time can make big changes. And that self-talk, everything starts within us. So when we're changing our thoughts, we see our external world change in the way that we desire. So, good point so far.
I'm hearing what you guys are saying, and that's spot on. It can be used, and we're learning how to use it as a tool. But I think with this introduction, he's kind of talking about how it's actually a lot of times working against us, and I feel that in the morning mostly when my mind is a little, groggy, hazy, and I can't really, not really focusing yet, and that's when I'm noticing a lot of that. It's an internal dialogue. It's not really a dialogue. It's maybe just a phrase that I might say, or something might a thought that might come across my mind. Usually it's a lazy thought about not wanting to get out of bed, or not wanting to tackle what's I need to do that morning. But they're it's accompanied by these feelings sometimes, and as we learn in this book, our feelings are create our attitude. Our feelings are coming from a programming, and then the feelings then create an attitude, and that attitude is kind of what causes us, and from what Dr. Shad Helmstetter is saying, is that that's what's causing us to then take the actions. So I guess what I would want to say is I'm now noticing that this stuff is happening in the morning, and I'm better able to go ahead and counter act that very quickly, which is great. And then I'm even going into some of these other tools, which is more of like dialogue and thinking it through, and it's kind of giving me a new way to wake up in the morning. So I'm not writing these things down on cards, but just having been going through them during the day enough, when I wake up in the morning, I'm realizing, I'm looking and I'm committed to figuring out a better way of starting my day. So, I'm tackling it first thing in the morning with my thoughts, and it's really helping out. So that's all I wanted to say there.
I agree with everyone, especially Jason, where the mornings were very difficult for me. I was, as Jason mentioned, I was groggy, I was tired, so I would not realize that I was making it an excuse, if that's the proper word, to just not go on with the day the way as productive as I would like it to be. So I had to ask myself and talk to myself and say what it is that I would like to do in the morning, instead of just feeling like I need to just get things done. So I've actually been waking up earlier, and I would keep saying to myself, okay, I'm going to wake up 15 minutes earlier, and it's actually working. And I get up in the morning and I take my shower, I make my coffee, I go out to the balcony, I drink my coffee and enjoy the morning, and it brightens my day, it brightens the way I feel about my morning, which in effect plays out through the day for me. And I think once I enjoy just taking that moment for myself in the morning when I wake up, instead of just feeling like I need to get this done, everything has to be business, 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 I take the time to enjoy myself prior to my family waking up, and then I'm having to take on the responsibilities of everything else. And that really, really helped me a lot. And that started with me talking to myself, saying, okay, wake up 15 minutes early so I can have that 15 minutes to enjoy the time for myself. So that helped me a lot. And now it's like I get up. It's not an issue anymore.
That's great, Julia. I love to set my day, in the mornings. I'm very protective over my morning moments because I realize the effect that that's going to have on my whole day. A little bit further into the chapter, it brings up the point of how, like, having an argument in the morning, maybe with your spouse or something, can totally, like, for 8 hours or so, it actually sets off chemical reactions in your body, and you'll feel the effects of it, like, for 8 hours. And maybe more if you go home and the argument's still going, right? But I'm so protective in the mornings. Yeah, I don't like to start my morning off with anything that makes me feel bad or that lowers my vibration, however you want to talk about it. But it's really impactful. And I think this silent one, is the hardest one to change. It's the most insidious one. It's the one that runs so automatically that we don't recognize it, So I think this is the one we really have to chase down. The other points that we're going to talk about, I think, are a little bit easier because some of them are audible. They're out loud. They're things you're saying to somebody else or things you're listening to. So obviously you have more control. Sometimes when you say something outside, then you can catch yourself more readily. But these programs that are just running silently, the self-talk that runs silently, like you said, Jason, we have to pay attention to those feelings because sometimes it's the feelings that alert us. We don't recognize. We're so used to hearing the chatter that we don't recognize it anymore, even though it's still running. But sometimes we suddenly recognize that we feel stressed or we feel sad or whatever. An emotion comes up to kind of alert us to, hey, what are you thinking about right now? Or what's that internal dialogue playing in your head right now? There are so many ways to change that, but I think this is the toughest one to change. What do you think, Christina?
Well, I was actually. Could you read that out? Could you see on my expression that I had several thoughts? That's scary, Catherine. You're in my head. So listen, I really wanted to highlight, because everybody said such good stuff, wanted to highlight again the importance of integrating as fast and as consistently as possible. With Jason, great point. I want to reiterate the importance of absolutely being conscious. So being 100% present in every moment helps you be conscious and aware of what your physiological changes are, what your emotional changes are, and that way you can then begin to associate that with the negatives and the positives, and can even re-anchor those feelings. Some people will put like a rubber band on their wrist or something and sort of snap it when they recognize, okay, this is when I am feeling a certain negative way, and that helps them re-anchor. Maybe they think about like a picture or a teddy bear or like their animal, something happy, some happy thought, and that's a re-anchor for them. But I really thought all of those points were really good, and the fact that you said that it was more of a silent one makes it even more important that all of these things everybody said is done consistently and very quickly. Like, don't let time go by and say, I'll get started with that tomorrow.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, everybody made some great points there, and I really wanted to just let's see here, my notes. For Christina, that was a great point about the being in the moment and just being mindful of that moment, every moment that you're going through your life. And I think that's really can be difficult when you have 10 million things going on. But like Julia was talking about, when she would plan to get up earlier so she could give herself that time in order to put herself in the right mindset and just give her some, positive just vibes to start your day. I think that's just huge because Catherine was talking about, is that it can affect you throughout your entire day. I mean, just little ripples of something really super simple in the morning can make all the difference. Now, one thing I wanted to say on, this part in the book, it talks about, exactly what is silent self-talk. Of course, we've talked about that a little bit, but it says right here, silent self-talk includes anything and everything you think about yourself or anything else around you. And when you think about that, I mean, you constantly have these thoughts going through your head every single day, all day long, every moment. And when you start to become aware of those things, that's when you actually can make those changes. And like Catherine was talking about, I think that it's been mentioned multiple times, is that maybe we don't even realize what's going on with us, and that all we have is just an emotion that comes up in our lives. All of a sudden we're just feeling depressed, or we're feeling sad, or we're feeling frustrated, or we're kind of sitting there going, ugh, I'm not happy with myself for whatever reason. And those are great indicators, because when you can recognize those, then you can take that step to make a change and begin to work on those specific things. And one of the things that I'm going through another couple of different books, one of which is A Course in Miracles. And in that book, it gives you these different exercises to do throughout the day. And one of the exercises is to just simply take a moment and look at everything around you and tell yourself, this has absolutely no meaning. Whatever it is, it could be a coffee cup. Be like, this has, it doesn't have any meaning. All the meaning that it has, I've put on it. I've placed the meaning on that. And when you go through and you look at the different things around you and you say those statements, you suddenly realize the meaning you are placing on those things. For instance, it was, let's see, there was one thing, I'm just kind of looking around the room and I'm going, this has no meaning. Well, I landed on the coffee maker, and the coffee maker is something that it represents coffee. And then I'm like, oh, I love coffee, and coffee makes me happy, and all these things. So these are all meanings that I'm putting on them that causes me an emotional response, right? And so by doing just a simple little exercise of looking at random things in your room or in your life and noticing the meaning you're putting on them and the emotional attachment you have to them, is a way to recognize some of that inner self-talk. So who else wants to jump out? I don't want to dominate the whole conversation.
You were going, girl.
I think that unless you do actually come to the point where you can recognize, I mean, I'm going back in my mind to when I was younger, when I thought that what you thought was just what you thought, if that makes sense. I mean, it's that okay, life's kind of against you, you're kind of a victim here, everything happens to you, that you don't really have the ability to affect the things outside of your life or outside yourself, so things just happen and like bums out your whole trip, so to speak, and that there's nothing, you're a victim, there's nothing you can do about it, and I think until it's pointed out to you that, hey, you can change the way that you think, that you can take control of your mind, you can take control of your tongue and the words that you speak, and that you can affect the thoughts that you think, until you come to the point where you can even recognize that you have the capability of doing that, then you're always going to be a victim. Life's going to happen to you instead of you happening more to life. And I do want to qualify something that I said earlier. The reason why I personally do more of my programming in the morning is because I can excite my mind to the point where I can go to bed at night and I can't go to sleep. I lay there till 3 o'clock in the morning because my mind is racing. And so that, for me personally, that's why I do my heavy programming in the morning and do probably like a light snack of programming at night before I go to bed. So anyways, I'm done.
It's funny you should say that about the light snack, because I was actually sitting here thinking, everybody does some stuff in the morning or in the evenings before they go to bed. I'm finding more and more I gotta have me like that little small meal during the day that they say you should have when you're working on losing weight. Eat a little bit throughout the day. I feel the need to do a quick checkout moment throughout the day, and this is something that I've only recently started because we're at work, it's high pressure, and somebody frustrates me or some situation frustrates me. I feel the need to just have a little moment and check back in with whatever affirmation I've got going for that day to help me kind of throughout the day. Again, integrate.
Samantha, I wanted to go back to something that you said in the pre-mastermind discussion, and what we're all saying, but just in different words, is that a lot of this stuff, it's our choice how we feel about it. It's very rarely the situation that is the problem. It's how we're looking at the situation that's the problem. If we look at it as a problem, instead, sometimes just a word tweak, and we'll learn more about this later on in this chapter, sometimes just a word tweak can make all the difference. So as you're learning to become conscious and listening to your inner dialogue that's going on, then you can change things, like instead of saying I have a problem, you can say that it's a challenge, or sometimes just one little word tweak makes all the difference. And instead of saying I don't know what to do right now, say what should I do right now, because you'd be amazed at what guidance you'll get. Wherever you like to think it comes from, I don't care, but I'm telling you, if you ask questions, you will get answers, and you'll get brilliant answers sometimes. And so I'm not sure quite where they come from. I just know that when I'm feeling frustrated and I don't know how to move forward in my life, if I can step back and look at how I'm looking at that situation and ask for guidance, what do I do next? It seems to come. And we always have that choice, regardless of the situation, no matter how bad we think it is. We always have the choice to take a step back, look at how we're looking at the situation, and even if we can't figure out another way to look at it, because sometimes you get in those situations where you're just so like, ugh, you just can't see any other way, but you can always ask, what are the possibilities here? What are the options here? That's all you have to do, and then that leaves a little bit of space for some of that guidance to come in, and it makes all the difference in the world. It can turn the worst of situations into, I would probably, all of us here on the panel have had some really bad shit happen in our lives, and at the time it's like the worst thing ever, and then maybe 10 years later we look back and we go, oh my God, thank God that happened, because look what happened from that, look what growth came from it, look what new experiences came from it. So I always remind myself of that when I'm in one of those moments. I'm like, remember when such and such happened and you thought it was so horrible, and then, so just, I don't know, the universe has a way of making sure that we get to the things we need. So, but it's always a choice. I love that you brought that up, Samantha.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to bring up another thought real quick on this that comes from this chapter, kind of along the same lines, and that, it talks about how our self-talk can actually cause physiological responses in our body. And of course, generally those physiological responses, they feel like what we call emotions, right? But you can actually feel them in your stomach, or feel that tightening in your chest, or you just feel, blah, those kinds of things. But yet, when you recognize that that's what's happening, and then you can do a test. You can test things out by determining, okay, if I think about it in a different way, like what Catherine was just saying, if we switch our perception on that, it actually will make us feel a different way. Just like this example he gave, where you get home from work, you're all tired, you're sitting in your chair, and you just feel like you just can't make another move. You're just gonna lay there, right? Because you're so wore out. But yet then the phone rings, and it's your best friend, or it's somebody calling to give you good news or whatever, and all of a sudden you're jumping up out of that chair, getting that phone, all excited and happy to hear from that person. Just 2 seconds ago you were feeling the worst in the world. But just that the perception, is that it's all about that perception. It's all about how we look at things. And if you came home after work every day and you had something to look forward to, I know there's a lot of folks that, they go to work, they work a really hard job, and then after work maybe they go and play softball with their buddies, or do some kind of activity of some sort with their girlfriends, or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden you have all this energy back, right? Wasn't they, when we're kids, we call it slap happy. In the middle of the night, all of a sudden you have that sudden burst of energy. It's because you have changed your idea of what that moment is all about, right? So I think, Donna, you were going to jump out, weren't you? I thought I saw you on mute.
Yeah, well, I just want to say just a quick something there on this, Samantha, not a whole lot on it, because the silent self-talk, for a long time, I couldn't understand that. And people take for granted, a lot of times, we assume as a people, I always put myself in there, we assume that people understand, but they really don't. A good majority of people don't understand silent self-talk, because I myself did not understand that. And that was one of the, I was like all the time. And then you can believe this one thing. When you start speaking it versus thinking it, that's when everything comes at you, hell and high water. And that don't mean you're the victim or woe is me, but you can bet what I'm saying here. You can bank on it. Think it all day long. That's well and fine. That's good. Start speaking it and watch what happens. Now, I'm gonna say this and I'll leave it alone. Being a driver that I was for many years, I was out on the road driving, which I'm not driving anymore. Had to change position on that. But anyway, life happens. I remember I was with someone and they said, Donna, the easiest way to find yourself is to go get lost. Okay, think about it now, what I'm getting ready to say. The easiest way to find yourself is to go get lost. And so, see, that's what we have to do sometimes with our brain. We have to just let our brain just go get lost and then decide to change directions there was a button on that machine I was driving that day, override button. Push the override button. If you have any problems, Donna, push the override button. Okay, that's what I have to do with my brain sometimes. First thing in the morning, I look forward to getting up. I love to get up, but I have to push that override button. And that helps me to override those not so good thoughts. Okay, I hope that helps someone.
That was really good, Donna. I like it. I don't know if you meant another meaning, but what I took from that was that literally sometimes, actually most of the time, we're always trying to control things. I know, listen, let me speak for myself. I'm certainly learning how to relinquish the control, right? Because really, that's just a false state in and of itself. But in always trying to control things, you get in the way of allowing what, for me, whatever everyone's beliefs is great, but for me, what God's already put inside me to navigate whatever situation it is. But then when I get to trying to control things, I am not present in the moment. I'm all in my head. And on top of being all in my head, I've also got the heightened presence of emotions. And then that's too much inner chaos going on to even hear what that message is, what the direction is that I need to take the next step, right? So that was really good, Donna. I like that.
Yeah, I like that. Override button. I hear that in the morning. Definitely going to be hitting that. It's like the easy button, right? I think I see a commonality with everyone talking about the mornings, and I think that's a great idea. If we can all figure out what our override button is, our reset button for the morning, what it will take to put us in the right mood and have the right perception, like Catherine was saying, because and really just automatically have those. The right attitude, just have the right feelings. And sometimes, well, in the morning, I'll just have a feeling, not necessarily a thought. I'll have some thoughts, that happen that I don't like, that like, oh, this is going to be a mess, or and I have to stop those. But sometimes I just have an overall feeling, and I don't necessarily know where it comes from, and I may not have the mental capacity in the morning to drill it down to where it comes from. But basically what I've been doing is if I can't immediately figure out where this feeling is coming from, I just decide, well, it's not serving me well, so I'm going to focus on what I need to focus on, whatever it might be, you know. And so just changing my focus changes my perception and allows me to move forward. So I wanted to add that, and I love what you guys are saying. I'm getting so much and taking so many notes. I appreciate it.
I want to go back to what Christina said for just a moment, and that's having moments. You know, it's perfectly. I think some people think once they get into this self-development genre that suddenly they have to become perfect. You know, like they never say anything bad to themselves, or they never say the wrong words or whatever. It's not like that. We're human. You know, we have life happens to us, and we come across frustrations and things, and go ahead and have your moment. You know, let that out. If it's anger, if it's frustration, whatever that is, you can always use that energy in another way. If any of you've read Napoleon Hill's Sexual Transmutation, I know that's a big jump, but it's the same concept, using energy for different purposes. So don't just like bottle that stuff up because you're not supposed to say those things, or you know, don't make the situation worse by being afraid to be human. You know, be human, have your moments, get your frustrations out. Love, because that if you don't, you're not loving yourself. You know, you're denying and you're being resistant. So those moments are really important, and for other people as well. If you're witnessing, sometimes we get, you know, on our self-development kicks, and we think that now we're supposed to help other people self-development their self as well, or self-develop themselves. And so we get a little too, I don't know, Samantha, you talked about this one time with your husband. I remember we talked about this on one of the hangouts where you start saying, well, you know, if you would do this, or you would do, you know, instead of paying attention to our own stuff. And maybe looking at if we're getting frustrated with the way another person's acting, explore why that's affecting us and what our stories are about whatever they're doing that's causing that, instead of trying to fix them, because sometimes we can do that. So love yourself.
Love yourself.
Exactly. I wanted to jump out there real quick. Then Sandy, you can jump out. I saw you unmute, but my husband's sitting here in the background going, "What? You were talking about me live on the hangout?" And of course, he knows that I do, because our relationship is a huge part of my life, and you know, I can gain a lot of insight from that. But yeah, that conversation was about one of the times where I kept nagging him about how he was acting, you know, and that was when he finally like jumped up and was like, "I've had it. Stop it. You know, quit yelling at me." You know, and that it was just one of those self-realization moments where I realized what I was doing, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I shouldn't be doing that." Right on. So jump out, Sandy.
Okay, I don't even remember what I was going to say. I have so many notes here, but yeah, I was, you know, thinking of that Wayne Dyer quote based on Catherine mentioning what you said, Samantha, you know, about changing the way you look at things. I can't think of the quote right now, but change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change, something like that. And when you were talking about all that, Catherine, about how we look, you know, we think we're in such a horrible situation, and we look here, you know, down the road and look back and like, thank God that happened. And, you know, I think about that sometimes in relationships I've had and breakups I've had where I've been like so distraught and like, but holding on to it. And then, you know, later on something more aligned to me and more perfect for me comes along. So it's, you know, that holding on, but then letting go, and then realizing later that, you know, that the universe wanted to provide me even better, you know, but sometimes, and then that was a great point you made too, that, you know, when, you know, we can't always be like this positive, upbeat, blah, blah, you know, we have to go through the frustrations and anger and sadness that we go through as humans. You know, sometimes people ask me stuff like that, like, are you always so positive? Because that's what is shown on my Facebook page a lot. And I'm like, no, I'm human. And somebody sees me angry or sad, they're like in shock, and I'm like, well, I'm human. I'm going through something, and it's very important to take those times. That happened to me recently, where I really had some dark feelings going through, and I really had to go through them because we have to go through them. Like you said, if we resist them, it's not helping us. So going through those and working on ourselves through that too, and coming out on the other side even brighter and more positive. Those downs help us to rise up even higher. And I was laughing before, Dan, when you were talking about doing the stuff before bedtime, because it reminded me, I've mentioned Neville Goddard lately, a couple times probably on this Hangout, that I've started reading his stuff, and a lot of his stuff is about getting into a state akin to sleep right before you go to bed, but then you're thinking about things that excite you and feel good, and I'm like, I'm never going to sleep again because I'm like thinking all these things. I'm getting all excited when I'm going to bed and getting in the feelings of having those things that I desire, and I'm like, I can't sleep. Like, how am I supposed to do this? So yeah, it's funny, but yeah, I like the morning too, because you get in that mode in the morning is really a good space. But yeah, doing it before bed can be challenging to get to sleep.
Yes, I'm going to go back a little bit to what was mentioned by Dan, where he could not sleep at night, and he was up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was going through the same situation where I was so excited about my future that I just could not sleep. I was just wondering, and with Samantha stating, because that was my problem, I wasn't getting any sleep because I was so excited, and I just was asking, how can I fix this situation for myself, because I was tired, and asking that question, I went to service, and I remember the pastor stating that he would go to sleep and he would just start just being grateful for everything while he's in bed, and he would have one of the best sleeps. So that was my answer there. So in the evening, I'm just grateful, and I meditate, and while I'm in bed, and then I end up falling asleep, and I wake up in the morning. And so that worked for me. So asking and it coming to you is true for me.
I think all of those are really powerful examples of how our self-talk, whether it's good or bad, can affect us physiologically, whether it excites us or whether it calms us down, whether it makes us peaceful or frustrated or tense or any of those different things. And when we start to recognize that that's what's happening, we can take that action to change what that physiological response is, or not so much change the response, but change the words that we're saying to ourselves so we have the response that we want. So that's very, very important, and depending on whether you're a morning person or a night person or middle of the day person, whatever it is, you can choose the thoughts that you're going to think so that you can have the response physically and emotionally and in your life that you want to have. And the more that you get control of those thoughts, then the better and better that your life is going to be and feel. And that's the key here. That's the whole key with this silent self-talk side of it. And of course, all of the self-talk is that you begin to notice the things that you're saying to yourself, even if you don't actually say words.
Whoops. Samantha froze up for me. Did she freeze up for everybody else?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Looks like she'll be back.
I was just thinking while we're waiting on her to get back, and I'm curious what the panel thinks when it comes to. For me, I just can't be the just think positive flowery thoughts. Just think positive flowery thoughts. Like, that doesn't seem to work for me when it comes to changing my languaging, because it just, for some reason, for me, doesn't feel authentic. Like, feels like I'm kind of lying to myself, and I'm a kind of keep it real girl, so I know if I'm lying to myself, right? So I'm curious what the panel thinks about that, replacing the language, if you will.
Good one, Christine. Real quick there, if Samantha has still froze there, you actually were not just figure of speech. Reading my mind, I was thinking, just thinking the same thing there. Posted a video out on my Facebook wall yesterday. Just the word alone, it seems like, oh my God, that's one of them negative videos. But no, if you listen to the video, it's Les Brown in there. But you know, we all aware of this stuff, and like you just said, I can relate to that, Christina. That thought of because it depends on what are you comfortable in. You have to be uncomfortable with the uncomfortable. You're not feeling positive all the time. That doesn't work. Some people, if you like some people think, well, if you're all happy, everybody can't is so a lot of people are unhappy or uncomfortable being something that they're not, and you can tell that. So that's what we were just saying right before the call. Julie and I was explaining this, and maybe she want to step out on this one. Folks nowadays, and this is not to point anybody. What guys, we're in discussion of what to say when we talk to ourselves. It's like the guy told me one time. He says he made a quote. He said a friend of mine says, "I know this guy. Now this is a joke, but it's true. It'll jolt your mind." Remember what I said about jolting the brain? Sometimes our brain has to be shocked. Okay. He said, "I know this guy addicted to brake fluid." And he stopped. "I know this guy addicted to brake fluid." He said he claims he can stop any time. I said, okay. So there you go. Julia, now I think you might want to pick up something that she was saying before the call, and I happen to remember that. See, guys, writing down things does help our memory. And sometimes I do things that looks kind of out of whack and maybe make a video looking sideways, but look, it's just real, you know. I'll get it together. I'm not perfect, but I'll never be. But I think we need to operate in our now, again, as we always say, in the imperfect moments, in the imperfect time, because people really need to see that, because there again, we cannot assume that everybody understands and knows really about this mind thing, okay? That's good, Christina, what you said there. That's good.
Donna, which part are you referring to? We talked about a few things.
Just right briefly before you came on, you made a statement. I should have wrote it down. It was talking about something similar to this little squirrel just distracted me. He jumped at the window. He's trying to get in the house. So anyway, oh my God, it was something similar to on the line of what Christina said, and it jolted my memory of that. And then what you said right before the call. Oh my.
Well, I remember discussing with the self-talk that sometimes when I'm going through an event or a situation that I'm not feeling good about, I will go back to the audios that I created and I listen to myself. And it helps me through the process because it reminds me of where I was at that one time, and encourages me, you know, for where I am at this present moment, to continue and to not, you know, we all have setbacks, but I look forward to the comebacks. And also that whatever, you know, something might seem bad, like for instance, for myself, I learned that when something good was about to happen, I would resist it. And I wasn't aware of that. Until I became aware of it, then I realized that I'm not accepting the goodness that's coming into my life based on my experience, my self-talk, and so forth. And so I constantly go back into those CDs that I created. And so what might seem bad is not actually bad. In the end, it's not bad because I had a learning process through the whole thing. And so that's my own self-talk at many times have been detrimental, but with a great group of people, a support group, it is, like I said, it might seem bad because you don't want to hear what people have to say, but if you open your heart and your mind to and accept what is being said. There is something to learn out of it, and I've learned so much. I have learned so much.
That's awesome, and it goes kind of back to what you and I've been learning in that Pay Me What I'm Worth book, and that's being balanced and open to receiving, being balanced in your giving and your receiving, right? And so many times we don't receive well, and what comes off, to speak to what you're saying, Julia, I know for myself, sometimes what comes